We all know that the color of the sky during the day is blue, and when it becomes the time of sunset or sunrise, it becomes red in color. But why does that happen? Today we are going to discuss about that. So hello everyone, welcome to our next video, and without wasting any more time, let's dive in directly into today's topic. Now, in order to understand why the color of the sky is blue or red, whatever it is, we must understand the effect called the Tyndall Effect that we have studied earlier in our previous classes. Now, what is Tyndall Effect? Tyndall Effect means the scattering of light because of the presence of certain particles. Now, light will scatter when it encounters different particles of different sizes. And which type of light will scatter at what size of the particle depends on the wavelength of the light. So if the wavelength is very small, it will be scattered by very minute particles, and it will be easier to scatter the lights which have wavelength very small in size. If the wavelength is higher, means longer wavelength, in that case what happens, the scattering of light becomes very tough. So very minute particles will not be able to scatter lights of longer wavelength very easily. Now, as we have studied about the 7 different colors of light, that is VIBGYOR, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, as we move from left to right, the wavelength of light keeps on increasing. As you go from right to left, the wavelength of light keeps on decreasing. That means violet has the smallest wavelength, and as we move up, red has the highest wavelength. And since violet, indigo, blue, these are almost of the similar type of color, and we consider blue more because blue is of something you can say it is an optimum or optimal level of its wavelength. So its wavelength is not too short or too large. That's why violet, since it has the shortest wavelength, its scattering is very easy, and that is why we don't really get to see violet light or even the indigo. But blue is somewhat of an optimum, and we will get to that as I will keep on discussing about this topic. And red, as we can see very clearly, it is having the highest wavelength, so it will be hardest to scatter red light. If you have an idea about wavelength, you can easily understand this concept. So let's begin with violet, indigo and blue, since they have the smallest wavelength, and we all know that the sun is composed of all these 7 colors of light. Now, composing of all these 7 colors of light, when the sunlight enters the atmosphere of the earth, it faces or it encounters numerous number of particles of numerous different sizes. So now what happens is, since these 3 particles are very small in size, they are easily scattered. Coming to red, red is very high in wavelength or longer wavelength, and hence it is very difficult to scatter lights of longer wavelength. And as the distance between the sun and the earth during the daytime is very small, red is not completely scattered. But blue, even in that small distance, is easily scattered. Now, if I have to draw a schematic or rough diagram about that, suppose we take this as an example of our earth, and here you are standing as the observer. When the sun is here, distance between the sun and the observer is very less. And as a result, there is not much amount of particles that will be able to scatter red light. But blue light is easily scattered. That's why during the daytime, we can see blue light of the sky or the blue color of the sky, because blue is easily scattered. Now we might ask that why not violet or indigo? The thing is, violet and indigo are so small that they are scattered even before reaching the observer, and they are perished away. So since they scatter so much, so easily, they scatter even before reaching the observer. But blue light, when it reaches the observer, it is still there. So it scatters while it is reaching the observer, and that's why we see the color of the sky as blue. Now what happens when the sun is about to set, it reaches the portion of the horizon. Suppose the sun reaches here. Now looking into this distance between the observer and the sun, it is obvious that the distance between these 2 points and the distance between these 2 points is different. This is very much less and this is very much high. Now, as the distance of the observer from the horizon is more, the blue light, as it scatters easily, it will just act like what happens to violet. In case of day, what happens to violet? Violet is easily scattered before even reaching the observer, and hence we get the blue light to reach us. Here what happens, since blue light is also easily scattered, before even reaching the observer during sunset, as the distance is so long, halfway through or maybe before even reaching the observer, the blue light is completely scattered. That's when the red light comes into action. So because of such a long distance, only red light can sustain the scattering. As it is having a longer wavelength, as I have previously mentioned, it is tough to scatter longer wavelength of light. As it is very tough, it is, you can say it is the Hulk who is resisting all the attack of all the numerous particles, and ultimately only that can reach the observer when the distance is the longest. Now you must keep in mind that the distance of the sun during daytime, during noon, is the smallest up to the earth. To an observer, suppose you are standing in your in the road or any place, you are standing on the ground, and during the noon, exactly at noon, when the sun is right over your head, at that point of time the distance of the sun from the observer is the least, and during the sunrise or the sunset, what happens, the distance of the observer from the horizon is the longest. And that is why this effect, all these things take place. That is the beauty of science, when you get to know the why it happens, that's why it becomes interesting. That blue light is having less capacity and hence it is scattered early. Red light having more capacity. By capacity I mean the length of the wavelength. So since red light has more higher wavelength, that's why it is not easily scattered, and during the horizon, when blue light cannot sustain so much scattering, it is easily scattered before even reaching the observer. And that's why red light can ultimately come and reach the observer and show us the red color of the sky. Sometimes we even see it as yellowish, orangish, and this is because of VIBGYOR, as I have told you. VIBGYOR, YOR, yellow, orange, red. So we get a mixture of yellow, orange and red. It is not always completely red. Sometimes it is orangish, reddish, those sort of colors. So that is why the color of the sky is blue during the day and red during the night. Very simple stuff. Just you need to understand these things, which has a smaller wavelength, which is a longer wavelength, and you need to understand Tyndall effect. Once you are clear about these two topics, wavelength and Tyndall effect, it will be not a very tough thing for you to swallow. So thank you everyone for watching. Hope you understood this video. Hope you understood the concept. So if you have any problem, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you have any query regarding. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Hope you understood the concept really well. If you have any problem regarding any of this, do ask me in the comment section. I would love to help you out. And if you like the video, then make sure you click on the like button, share it with your friends if you think they need it too. And until next time,